So we're talking about somebody who's made significant, valuable contributions to this community. And there's nobody better to be recognized for what he's done. Mike, what a great guy you are, and we're so proud to have you as a part of this community. You make us go, and we're glad to have you here.
Thank you, everybody. I have so many friends out here in the audience. It's amazing. I'm coming in tonight. George, thank you for the introduction. As you can imagine, I'm really honored to receive this award. I appreciate the Chamber putting on this event. I know there's a lot of work that goes into it, and I also appreciate my friends that participated in the videos. That was really nice. And of course, I have to thank the prior First Citizens because they're the ones that nominated me for this award tonight. So thank you. I really appreciate the work you folks have done. My wife, Kate's here with me tonight. And so we've been married for 43 years, and we've lived in the same house in Eugene for 35 years. So that's when we moved back in 1990. So if you know Kate, she's one of the most positive and caring people that you'll ever meet. And I can say that she's been a great partner in raising our family with our philanthropy and in assisting with our community service. She's also a kind and loving grandmother to our almost four grandchildren. And as anybody knows, you enjoy playing or spending time with your grandkids. It's just one of the greatest joys we can have. But another joy is watching your kids raise their kids. And we're so proud of Nick and Katie and Allison and Dan for the care that they give in raising their kids. And they had a great role model in my wife, Kate. So Kate, thank you a lot. We also have my son, Nicholas, and his wife, Katie, and my daughter, Allison, and her husband, Dan. Katie and Nick have a daughter, Aurora, who's a gorgeous little thing, and again, they have one coming. Alice and Dan have two energetic boys, Henry and Will. They're very sweet. Allison runs Burley, as many of you know, and she's on the leadership committee for Elevate 28, so good job. And Dan, Allison's husband, runs our Tokenie Capital, which is our property management and development company. So all of our businesses are located in Eugene, Springfield area. My kids are here, my grandkids are here. And so as you can imagine, we're all in Eugene. We're all in on Eugene, just like everybody else in this room tonight. So I appreciate that. So when I received this award, it kind of got to me thinking about why do I value community service and philanthropy? And then over the years, I've been watching a lot of folks that came before me, First Citizens and other business leaders, and I've always just been amazed and I had so much admiration for those folks that they would actually put in that time year after year. And I've been fortunate to work and learn from some of the best business leaders we've had in Eugene. I think back in Carolyn Chamber and Don Tykes and some of those folks that have been around a long time that were strong business leaders. I was just a joy to be able to work with some of those folks. So as I look back on, why you kind of do a little self-reflection when you get an award like this, and why is it that I got into or feel so passionate about community service? And so there's kind of two major things that took place in my life, and I thought I'd talk about that tonight just to share with you kind of why I'm up here, I think. So when I was 6 years old, I was the oldest of four kids living in Longview, Washington. When my father started abusing alcohol, and he beat up my mother one evening. And I can remember hearing the commotion out in the living room, and I actually got out of bed and got between them. So that's it's kind of a pretty shocking thing to happen. And over a 2-week period, my grandparents, who lived in Roseburg, Oregon, they purchased a home 2 blocks from their house, and they moved my 27-year-old mother and these 4 young kids down to Roseburg. So my mom had a high school education. She went to Umpqua Community College, got a bookkeeping degree, went to work for my grandfather's grocery store, and she took care, and it was pretty much a full-time job to have 4 young children, single mom, working a job. But I gotta say I was lucky because I had 3 very strong father figures in my life that really influenced me. The first was my grandfather. He was a hardworking grocery man. He started a grocery store chain in his early 50s, so he's also an entrepreneur. He worked hard in his new venture. He was extremely involved in his community in Roseburg, and he was also named a First Citizen. So he also looked after my mother and my siblings, and he made sure that we always felt like we had a home, that we're a family group. And he also stressed the importance of education, and he always told me that an education is something that nobody could ever take away from me. So, as you can imagine, we adored our grandparents when we were growing up. I had a second father figure, Dr. Seeley. He lived next to my grandparents, and he was a surgeon in Roseburg, and we never paid a doctor bill in our whole life. If any of my siblings were sick or I was sick, Dr. Seeley would walk over to the house with his doctor bag, take care of things, you talk physicals, whatever. He took it upon himself to take care of our family. So, and then he was also into horticulture. He had big greenhouses, and so he really introduced me to science and horticulture and literature and the importance of education. And then I had a third father figure, and that was George Keller. And George lived 2 houses down. He had 3 daughters who didn't want anything to do with the outdoors, but George was an outdoorsman. So he was wise beyond his years, and he was a lot of fun. So he'd take us fishing, camping, hiking, play catch, shoot hoops, make things, and he was a huge influence in my life until he passed away last year at the age of 95. So these 3 minutes of my life taught me the importance of looking out for your family and the importance of lending a helping hand to those in need. And I've wondered what my mother would have done without the support of her parents and the caring neighbors, and how my life could be much different than it was today. So not surprisingly, much of our community service and philanthropy targets at-risk children, women, and families. So the second major influence in my life was business and learning to be a good businessman. And in that regard, I had some really good mentors. So the first part of my career was spent as a tax accountant with Coopers & Lybrand and Arthur Young, and then I was taught strategic planning and M&A work with AY. And so I loved the work, and I loved the people I worked with. But during that time, I met with Andy Stormott. And as Andy might have mentioned in the video, we've been partners for about 40 years. So Andy was the new guy at Coopers, and of course I latched on to him because he's smart. He was a very smart young man at the time. He still is, but... And so we'd go to these jobs and we'd always talk about, hey, someday we're going to get together and we're going to buy a business. Well, Andy was in Medford at the time, and I was living in Seattle, and kind of decided, gonna have to make a move here. So in May of '98, Allison was born. Kate quit her position at Nordstrom's as a buyer for Nordstrom's because we had 2 kids now. And I left my safe and cushy job at Arthur Young to go out and start doing consulting work to kind of give me the time to start looking for a business. So, as you can imagine, it was one of the scariest moments of my life, leaving a great job that I loved, but I went out and bought a Macintosh 128K computer. There was such a thing, and it was a square box like this. And I got a cell phone, which at the time was a brick. Some people remember it was a brick with a handle on it. And I was off to the races. So luckily, I had a good contact of people I'd worked with, and so I developed a nice pipeline of work. In 1989, Andy came up to Seattle and joined me. and we were doing consulting work, and we started looking for a business to buy. We kissed a lot of frogs, but in 1990, we came upon a company called Percon in Eugene, Oregon. And our search for investors started with the people that we were doing consulting work, and one of those people that we approached was Arnie Prentice. And Arnie's at our table tonight with Andy and I. So Arnie owns a large insurance company up there, and he also had contacts with angel investors, and he helped Howard Schultz raise his money to start his first coffee company called Starbucks. So Arnie was our first investor. He mentored Andy and I over the next 10 years that we grew and eventually sold Percon. He was our cheerleader and our coach, and we learned so much from him over 10 years. Much of his counsel had to do with employees and treating employees, make sure people know what they're supposed to do when they do, what's it look like to do a good job, what's in it for them, things like that. Building the team. He was the importance of a strong culture and business ethics. So he was the guy that kind of, laid the foundation for us becoming good business people. So I built a toolkit of skills during that time, and I learned that the value of having a great business partner. And if you ever want to start a business or buy a business, make sure you find somebody that's smarter than you, that has the same moral character and work ethic, and things are going to work out. So in 2007, so we had Percon, we grew it, and in 2000 we sold the business, which gave me time to pursue more community activities. It gave me more money to support nonprofits financially, and it allowed me to pursue my skill base to find new businesses. So we kind of went on a little bit of a tear. We bought the Citizens Building in 2001. We started Summit Bank in 2004, but I think we worked on it a couple of years before that. We bought a company called Kerr Concentrates in Salem in 2005. In 2006, our family purchased Burley Design, and you heard about Amazon Corner a little bit ago. So we got busy, and again, all of our investments are in Eugene, Oregon, so we're committed to this community. I'd also like to do a shout out to Summit Bank. As you know, Andy and I were involved in starting that. And that bank, coming out of the blocks, was the first bank to have a woman CEO in Anne-Marie Malum. And we had a woman chairman with Gretchen Pierce. And Gretchen was also a First Citizen. So I thought that was something to be proud of. So now Craig Wanachek and the board, they built a great management team. And as you know, Summit Bank's the sponsor of this event tonight. And, when I look at Summit, I see a company that sets a great example on how you can make a lot of impact in your community. And so I just really appreciate the work, Craig, that you and your team do to support our community. So how's my tie-in with business and philanthropy? How's that tie in? So, I look at a nonprofit business as a normal business. They just have a different revenue model. So they've got, they have employees, they have facilities, we have insurance, federal, state regulations. They're a normal business in my mind. And I think they're very entrepreneurial too. So, the other thing about nonprofits is, I learned so much. I've learned so much from being on boards and participating in our community. I've worked with some phenomenal people in the past that I think I've mentioned earlier. And all the folks that I work with, I learned and I was just amazed. So here I am. I've seen all these people in the past, and I realized I turned 70 last year, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people that have actually been plugging away on this. So to close, I just want to say, you know, again, I want to thank my wife, Kate, and my kids. And Allison, she's been a big supporter, helping with our philanthropy over the last several years. And I'm really proud of her. She's on the board of Peoples for Bike, which is our national bike organization. She's on the Relief Nursery leadership team, and she's also on the leadership committee for Elevate 28. So I can't tell you how proud that makes me feel. So I just want to close out and just tell you folks how proud I am to be part of this business community. I've seen the work that businesses do and how they contribute and support our nonprofits. And I just want to say that I look forward to working with all of you to make Eugene a great place to do business and raise a family. So thank you for this honor, and I really appreciate it tonight. Thank you very much.